Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Mesa City Council meeting, January 13th, 2025. And for our roll call, we have all our council members present. Thank you for being here. As we get started, we're going to ask Pastor Luis Amaya to say the opening prayer. Pastor Amaya, you're close by. Here you go. If you'll please stand, after which remain standing, and we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening, everyone. Let's pray. Father, we thank you for this special day. It's a new beginning of a new journey for all the workers, all the employees of the city, but mainly for the new mayor, Mark Freeman, and every other council members. Father, we asking you for the grace to give them the strength in every way in all the challenges and situations they're going to be facing starting the year, but we know that you're going to give them all the time your presence and your grace. We ask you, Father, in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
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 Thank you, Pastor. We'll visit with you right after the Pledge of Allegiance. I've asked Councilmember Adams to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you once again. I just want a minute to present this to you from our church and giving you this special day, something to remember through all the years.
Thank you so much. You do so much. I'll come down and get a picture with you.
That'd be great. Really appreciate it. Thank you, all of you, and the Vice Mayor and every one of you. Thank you. You want me to read it for you?
Yeah, read it, please.
Yeah. This one says, congratulations to our new mayor, Mayor Mark Freeman from Mesa, and God will give you the wisdom to accomplish all your duties and plans for our community. Blessings forever. Iglesia de Cristo de Inversión.
De nada. Gracias. Turn around and get a picture.
Okay. Thank you, that box for your wife.
Thank you, Pastor. That was a surprise, and I appreciate that. With that, there's an award and recognition that we're going to do this evening, and I'm excited to be here tonight to present a proclamation that highlights something so important to our own personal and community growth, and that's literacy, and I know we talked about that in our study session. Reading is a foundation of lifelong learning and helps build strong, thriving communities like ours. I encourage everyone to embrace the joys of reading. I'd like to take a moment to thank our Mesa Library staff. We're so grateful for your passion and dedication to spreading the love of reading. Jesse, are you here? Well, there you go. Come on up. I'm going to turn it over to you and explain what Proclamations about.
All right, thank you. Good evening. My name is Jesse Sims, and I'm the Assistant Library Director here tonight for Polly, who unfortunately is under the weather. So first of all, I want to say thank you to Mayor and Council for all the amazing support that you give to the libraries. It is very appreciative. As I heard earlier in study session, a lot of you were at the Mesa Reads kickoff this last Saturday. And this was really spearheaded by Polly, so she's very disappointed she can't be here, and that's our library director. So I want to thank her as well as our staff. And really the idea behind this is to build a literacy community in Mesa. And the way we want to do that is by creating strong literacy habits. So we settled on a goal of reading 15 minutes a day, and we're challenging and encouraging all residents of Mesa to read 15 minutes a day. And we do have a citywide goal to read 1 million minutes, so we're very excited to shoot for that goal. And we're also going to have author events throughout the year, as well as our summer reading and our winter reading program as well. So again, I understand this is your first proclamation, is that correct?
Somebody yeah, you caught me. Yeah, first one. There'll be many more after that.
So we're very excited. We appreciate it. And thank you again for the support. We encourage you to read 15 minutes a day and build those strong literacy habits. So thank you.
And it doesn't matter how you read, right?
It does not. It can be audiobooks count. Audiobooks
Okay.
count. Reading to your kids counts. Your kid reading to you counts. Anything that's building that literacy habit, that's really what we want to encourage for the residents of Mesa.
I know we have council members very passionate about that, so I appreciate you doing that. Council, let's go down and take a picture with Jesse.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Mike. Take that with you. Yes, thank you.
All right, Jesse. You bet. Tonight, we're a little busier in the mayor's seat and council, so we appreciate everybody's participation. So we're going to move on to our agenda, and it'll be a selection for the vice mayor. But before we have a discussion, we do have some blue cards that they wish to speak on this agenda item. So first, I'm going to call up Mr. Kerry Davis.
Consent agenda first?
Let's see here. Okay, let me get here. So, yeah, it's not on here. So it should do the consent agenda first? Hold on just a minute. You know, this is my first rodeo, so everybody be patient. And I like rodeos. No, we're going to move forward with this item. Mr. Davis, go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and City Council, and congratulations, Mayor Freeman, for your election, and Councilman Rich Adams. I'd like to support Scott Summers. Scott Summers serves as the council member for District 6, which is the district that I live in. Grateful for the vote that he put forward the last meeting to not support the streetcars, and so with that, hopefully he'll continue with his conservative agenda, and that's who I'd like to support for Vice Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. We next have two Alexes. Alex Vranic. Come on up, Alex. Did you do the two of these the same?
They are the same person, but two different cards.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you can scratch one out
Okay.
if that counts.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, council members. Congratulations, Mayor Freeman. Congratulations, Councilman Adams. On behalf of other people that aren't able to attend this evening, I would like to also encourage the council to have Council Member Scott Summers be the next Vice Mayor for the City of Mesa. Seems that he is one of the council members that is shown to be the closest to the people for the last several meetings that we've had. So we want to throw our support behind him, and we encourage you to also support him. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. So I'm going to lead out on this topic, and while all the districts are seeing growth and are important, District 6 is seeing substantial growth in investment development. So I'd like to start the conversation by making a motion to nominate Scott Summers as Vice Mayor for the next 2 years. I believe his involvement will be crucial to our efforts, and I'm going to ask for a second, and then I'll allow for discussion. Is there a second? Push your button there, Mr. Adams. So I have a second from Mr. Adams. Council, any discussion? Ms. Duff?
Before we make a vote here, I just want to put all options on the table. One, of course, I acknowledge your nomination of Councilmember Summers. And yes, he is, a great council member. However, I would like to put on the table, considering to do the 1-year automated terms. We don't need to change the charter in order to exercise it this. In fact, selecting for the next 2 years, 1 year each, would be a good pilot for a future consideration if we wanted to change the charter. Regarding the concern about if something happens to the mayor, who would be the mayor? The vice mayor would serve temporarily until the council held a vote to decide and appoint who is going to be the mayor for the term until the special election. So could be the vice mayor, but it could be another council member as well. So we don't have to get nervous about Mark falling off of his horse. Yes, we are. We are, of course.
It
but
does
I
hurt.
mean, we're in good hands if something would happen.
Sure.
And so I would like to put on the table as a consideration before the vote is made to consider doing an automated 1 year each on a system going forward. We could vote 2 council members now. The tradition, the way that vice mayors are usually selected are based on seniority. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Mr. Summers?
First of all, I'm honored. Thank you very much. I appreciate the support for everybody and your kind comments as well. To clarify what was stated, we had a discussion downstairs about moving to a 1 year, and that might be an option we do need to explore. The reason it's a 2 year now is that the vice mayor currently replaces the mayor should the mayor become incapacitated or otherwise leave office for whatever reason. So in the first 2 years, which is the current 2 years, the vice mayor would become pro tem. The council has 120 days to call an election, then there's an election for a new mayor. What would happen in the second 2 years, however, is that the vice mayor then becomes the mayor for the remainder of that term. And the charter, the way it's currently set up, is that whoever that is becomes the mayor. So if we're going to make a change from a 2 year to a 1 year, there's other charter issues we're going to have to clean up. For example, does the vice mayor automatically become the mayor? Is it for 2 years or is it just 1? Do we take a vote on who that's going to be? That kind of thing. So I think moving toward a 1 year will probably require a charter change at some point, and we should discuss whether the council wants to move forward or not with that.
Thank you, Mr. Summers. Ms. Duff?
Mr. Butler or Mr. Smith, can you clarify the situation? My understanding is if the mayor becomes incapacitated, the vice mayor would temporarily replace the mayor until the council votes for who will be the mayor pro tem until the special election. Is not an automatic space between
Mayor and council. So, and Councilmember Summers actually said it succinctly down in the study session, so I'm not going to try to restate it, but it depends on how much is left of the term. And so depending on how much left of the term depends on whether or not the council makes a vote, or the person simply fills out the remainder of the term. I don't mean to speak for Councilmember Summers, but I think the point is that if we go to the 1 year, it would be cleaner to actually put it in the charter and then look at any potential ripple effects throughout the charter and whether or not those ripple effects need to make other changes within the charter. And I think that was sort of the point, at least that I just heard, is that that the charter could be cleaned up as far as if we go into 1 years in other sections to make sure it's just even more abundantly clear. That's what I heard. But from your point is, can it work right now to do 2 1-year terms? The answer is yes.
Okay, any other, okay, Ms. Spilsbury?
As I already mentioned downstairs, I like the 1 year just so that more people have an option. But I just want to say something. We are elected nonpartisan. I think people forget that. We're in nonpartisan positions. It's one thing I love about serving on the city council because I can represent every single person in my district, not just the Republicans, not just the Democrats, not just the independents. That's how this works. Whether you like it or not, that's how this works. And as a council, we also have to look out for every single person in our city, not just for the conservative agenda, not just for the liberal agenda, but we have to look out for every single person and what's best for our entire city. And I think that needs to be a big reminder to people. And I think that we need to make things like this not political, but we are making it political. And so I guess that's what we're going to do. But I think people need to remember that.
Thank you, Ms. Spilsbury. Any other discussion? All right. Well, hearing none, there's a motion on the table to select Scott Summers as our vice mayor. And if you will, cast your votes. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Motion proceeds forward. Mr. Summers, congratulations. You'll be our new vice mayor. We have 4 yeses and 3 nos. Thank you, everyone. Mr. Christopher, if you'll come forward with the consent agenda, I appreciate that.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. These are the items on the consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk will be considered as a group by the City Council and will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion unless a council member or citizen requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered as a separate item. Item 3, approval of minutes of previous meetings as written. Item 4A, act on liquor license application for Taco El Paisa, 1259 East Southern Avenue. Item 4B, act on liquor license application for Grab and Go, 9202 East Main Street. Item 5A, approving contract for Pecos and Rittenhouse new sewer lines, pre-construction services and construction manager at risk. Item 5B, approving 1-year term contract with 4-year renewal options for landscape sprinkler and irrigation supplies for the materials and supply warehouse, parks and recreation, facilities management, transportation, and transit departments. Item 5C, approving use of a cooperative contract for a 4-year initial term with 6 1-year renewal options for a computer engagement portal solution for the Department of Innovation and Technology. Item 6A, approving resolution for the City of Mesa to participate in the bidding process for acquiring natural gas pipeline transmission capacity and any resulting contracts. Item 6B, approving resolution to enter into a right-of-way occupancy license with Cablevision Lightpath, replacement of a fiber optic cable network. Item 6C, approving resolution to enter into a right-of-way occupancy license for Bicentel for replacement of a fiber optic cable network. Item 6D, approving resolution vacating a portion of public right-of-way located on the east side of the 3400 block of North Valdosta Drive to combine with the adjacent parcel for future development. Item 6E, approving resolution extinguishing a portion of 2 separate 20-foot public utilities easements located at 460 East Auto Center Drive to allow for redevelopment of an existing automotive dealership. Item 7A, introduction of ordinance for zoning case 24-405 for property located east of the northeast corner of Higley Road and Main Street. Major site plan modification and amending conditions of approval for zoning case 80-9 to allow for a skilled nursing facility. Item 7B, introduction of ordinance for zoning case 23-594 for property located north of Pecos Road on the west side of Meridian Road. Site plan review and amending conditions of approval for zoning case 2-45 to allow for an industrial development. Item 7C, introduction of ordinance for zoning case 24-731 for property located west of the northwest corner of Ellsworth Road and Southern Avenue. Rezoned with new planned area development overlay and major site plan modification to allow for a single residence development. Item 7D, introduction of ordinance for zoning case 22-1264 for property located south of the southwest corner of Power Road and Williamsfield Road. This is for a rezone of the new bonus intensity zone overlay and major site plan modification for a multi-tenant commercial building with a drive-through facility. Item 7E, introduction of ordinance for the annexation case 24-1085 to annex approximately 3.8 acres of county right-of-way along Elliott Road from Sossaman Road to an area about 2,600 feet west of Sossaman Road. Item 7F, introduction of ordinance that corrects 2 minor typographical errors from a prior ordinance related to rates for city-owned natural gas utility services. This ordinance makes no changes to the previously adopted rates. Item 8A, introduction of ordinance for annexation case 23-690, annexing approximately 64 acres located in the southeast corner of Southern Avenue and Signal Butte Road. Item 8B, introduction of ordinance for zoning case 23-691 for approximately 61 acres located at the corner of Southern Avenue and Signal Butte. Rezone, plan area development overlay, council use permit, and site plan review for multi-use development known as Medina Station. Items 9A and 9B have been removed from the consent agenda. Item 10A, approving ordinance for zoning case 24-15 for property located near the northeast corner of Higley Road and Main Street. Rezone with bonus intensity zone overlay and site plan review to allow for a multiple residence development. Item 10B, approving ordinance for zoning case 23-970 for property generally located near the intersection of Mesa Drive and 2nd Avenue. Rezone and site plan review to allow for a multiple residence development. Item 10C, approving ordinance for zoning case 24-745 for property located near the northwest corner of Southern Avenue and Country Club Drive. Major site plan modification for development of a limited service restaurant with a drive-through facility. Item 10D, approving ordinance for zoning case 24-711 for property generally located west of Brecker Road and Thomas Road. Rezone with plan area development and bonus intensity zone overlays and site plan review to allow for an industrial development. Item 10E, approving ordinance for zoning case 24-636 for property generally located east of McDowell Road and Higley Road. Major site plan modification and council use permit to allow for expansion of an existing mini storage facility. Item 10F, approving ordinance for zoning case 24-656 for property located at the northwest corner of Pecos Road and South Mountain Road. Major site plan modification and amending condition of approval number 1 for zoning case 15-24 to allow for expansion of an existing manufacturing plant. Item 10G, approving ordinance for zoning case 24-426 for property located near Superstition Springs Boulevard and Southern Avenue. Major site plan modification and amending condition of approval number 1 for zoning case 99-43 to allow for a service station. Item 11A, approving subdivision plat for southwest corner of Peterson Avenue and Ellsworth Road. And item 12A, approving bingo application for Sunspire Community, 2600 East Allred Avenue. Mayor and council members, these are the items on the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Christopher. Do we have a motion and a second? Thank you, Mr. Heredia, and second, Mr. Summers. Would you please cast your vote? Mr. Adams, you might have to push it again. There you go, 7-0. Thank you, everyone. All right, we're going to go back to 9A and 9B, if that's okay. 9A and B are introduction to an annexation case and related rezoning of property for project known as Carmelo by Blandford Homes. This is just the introduction of these items. They are set for hearing and action for the February 3rd council meeting. So I do have some blue cards for this, and if you'll come up as I'll say your name. So this is, okay. James and Sarah Cunningham, you do not wish to speak, but you're opposed to this. Lisa Caruth, if you'll come up to speak. Lisa, are you here? And you have 3 minutes. You're opposed to this. Thank you. Next after Lisa will be Norm Sendler. Hi, Lisa. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me. Excuse me. I am opposed to the density of the zoning on this project. And what I did is I copied your map from your presentation that the, I guess the council or someone has given you to vote on it. And I noticed that the area immediately surrounding the piece of property that is to be developed or requesting to be developed, where I live about 60, 65 feet to the west. Just one rural road right across the street. My husband and I own 2 homes there. I have lived there since 1978, and then we built the house where my husband and I live in 2002. We are on 1.25 acre lots. The density comparison that the builder has given you in your packet do not include any of us immediate neighbors that butt right up to the property. I believe it's because we are in a county island, but we were all invited to give our opinions and to the neighborhood meetings and the planning and zoning meeting and so forth. So I would think that our opinions and what we have to say would count. So Madrid is directly behind me to the east, and it is a minimum of half-acre lots. Thunder Mountain is directly to the north across McDowell, and they are minimum 1 acre lots. We are on 1.25 acre lots. My neighbors, Jim and Sarah Cunningham, are on 2.5 acre lots. And the majority of the lots along Culver, which is the other boundary of this property, are 1 acre lots. And then to the west, there's a mix of half acre to 1.5 acre. There's a couple even 2 acre lots. So you get an idea of what we are sitting on. And the parcel that the builder wants to develop, in their package, they have requested a PAD, which is going to take the lot size minimum from 15,000 in the zoning down to 10,400. So that's a big difference. And 49 of those homes will be 10,400 square foot lots. So by voting yes, you're actually voting for 10,000 square foot lots, which are surrounded by larger half acre and 1 acre. Just
Lisa, your time's up. But
Okay.
If you want to summarize.
I just wanted you to take this into consideration and do some research on it.
Thank you, Lisa. Norm? After Norm, Vincent Kelly is up on deck. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. I was actually here in December 9th, and Mayor made the comment about the best option for this property is for it to be annexed by the city of Mesa. It will be the best options for the neighbors. You probably don't remember saying that. So
I wasn't the mayor. I wasn't the mayor in December.
What I just said, I just thought I'd bring it up. You can probably go back and look. So to Lisa's point, and if you go and look at all of the pictures, I even sent an email out, so I don't know if you got copies of it, but you can see what the density of the houses are around that particular piece of property. One of the things that the city of Mesa has done, and this is why I do think that it is probably in the best interest to have that property annexed by the city of Mesa, is that they have a high desert guideline. They've had it for years. I think it came out in 2002. The minimum, the way they're set up is that it's RS 35 lot size, right? Not this RS 25 lot size that's being proposed. And that, again, goes back to the whole density of what those houses are. I mean, there's 56 houses. Originally it was proposed at 81 houses. All right, so now they've dropped it by 30% to 56 houses. Yay, but that's still going to be 200-300 cars. The amount of noise, the amount of light pollution, the roadkill is going to go up. There's already traffic. There's not a stop sign at Hawes and McDowell. There's going to be a red light that's going to have to go up there. So, here I am. This is kind of one of those things like the guy having to fight City Hall. And yet what I'm really doing is I am presenting to the city of Mesa to ask the city, to defending the city of Mesa's own building guidelines on what to do for high desert. So I don't understand why I'm here trying to make this sort of pitch to the commission. Really, it should be, Barrister Lake and Blandford saying, hey, listen, we know that the zoning is set at RS 35, and we'd like to have a few more extra homes in that. So if in fact we're going to have this high desert and it's well described and well defined, then let's do that. So I think the annexation is fine, but the only caveat would be is that all of that property needs to be considered as high desert and zoned with an RS 35 pad. And I think that would make everybody in the neighborhood feel a heck of a lot better. So any questions? All right, you're welcome. Thanks.
Thank you for letting me speak again. I was here last meeting, and I would like to talk about, I live in Thunder Mountain Estates. Right across the street from the development that they want to build. And the problem we have is that if they put the entrance and the exit in front of ours, we're going to have a hard time getting out of our community because we only have one entrance in and one exit out. So the problem we have is that we have a little dip in the road, and there's a lot of foliage that's on McDowell Road. If we come out and we have to look for the traffic coming ahead of us, to the left of us, which would be on the east, and these guys come down with trucks, trailers, boats, you name it, motorcycles, you have school buses, you have bikes in a bike lane. So that's all considered that if they're going to put the entrance and exit somewhere, they should put it on Waterbury Street. There is a City of Mesa has their own water system with a generator, and that would probably be efficient to put it there instead of putting it across ours. I don't really say that they shouldn't do the development. They can do it, but the problem is that the other one that I have here is that if they put that exit and entrance across the street from us, we're just going to have a bunch of accidents because of the way the traffic is coming from east to west, from McDowell, and they come from Ellsworth and all the other places. The other thing where I just want to touch on is that by building 2.5 houses on a half acre would not fit the neighborhood. When this happens, it involves more traffic noise and the skylight. I built my whole house on a 0.78 acre lot to conform with county regulations. And if they put one house on 1/2 acre there on that community across the street from us, that would be efficient enough for taking care of the noise, the traffic, the lighting, and we don't know yet, like the other gentleman just said, that we don't know if we're going to have a traffic light there. There is this 4-way stop sign right now on Haas and McDowell Road. And if they stop, they don't know which way to go, and then we have traffic coming out of the community, and they're trying to go left, they're trying to go right, we're trying to make left, go right. It's just going to be one big nightmare. So that's all I have to say. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Vincent. Appreciate that. Linda Finkelstein is next, followed by Paul Kennedy. Hi, Linda. Welcome.
Good evening. Happy New Year. I hope this is a good year for the council. I've lived in Mesa since 1984. I was in Dobson Ranch. In 95, I came to Thunder Mountain. What a change in Mesa since I became a resident. And I think about this particular area, and I think it's one of the most special parts of Maricopa County. And I'm hoping that the beauty is not ignored by developers. And I'm asking to pay attention to the density, as other people have asked. And I'm concerned about two-story homes, which it's kind of hard when it's 100% on the bottom and 100% on top. There goes your beautiful mountain views. There goes the view of the sky. It makes a big difference. I know I have a neighbor that did something rather amazing to his property, and it's amazing the difference it can make. So the real concern I have, other than what other people have said, it's the safety of us getting in and out of our neighborhoods. It's very difficult to have somebody injured in a car accident, somebody to lose their ability to walk. Don't ask me how I know this, but I know this. And it's going to happen unless somebody's willing to take the authority to say, you're responsible for traffic safety. You want a development? We're going to need to have some kind of traffic signal somewhere. This area has changed dramatically since 1995. It's no longer a two-lane dirt road. There are no more properties for sale. I mean, we're all infill. And people are rushing to the freeway, to go north or south or coming down McDowell. And I don't have a problem with additional housing, but I don't think I want anybody to have a finger poked in an eye. And when you think about the thought of 80 houses or 60 houses or two-story houses in an area that was set up so differently, other city councils made a decision long ago. How about respecting those traditions and try to keep it more like that? And I am grateful that Blandford has built beautiful communities and has added to our tax base. And I can see where I'd want to do a favor to them, but please, not at the expense of the people who've lived there for decades. It's really a finger in the eye, and it's not the index finger. So that's all I have to say, and I thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Appreciate that. Paul? And after Paul, we have Maggie Kibbett. Thank you, Paul. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Paul Kennedy, and I've been in Thunder Mountain for 27 years. I live in Lot 47, which is just across the street from where I'm right on McDowell, and just south of me is where the new development is going to go in. And I just got to say that we have the most spectacular view that, and we've been there for 27 years. We have the sunsets, we have in the daytime, we see the dust storms rolling in, the monsoons, everything. It's just absolutely beautiful. So we don't want to lose that, okay? We know that development is inevitable. It's going to happen. But we would, from my perspective, and I think other people in Thunder Mountain, we would like to have the density reduced. I would like to see not more than 2 houses per acre, just like Madrid to the east. We're like 1 house per acre in Thunder Mountain. We have 135 acre lots, and we're one house per acre. Also, if you could limit the houses along McDowell to 1-story houses and not 2-story houses, that would help us with our view and not look so clogged with all these houses rising up in front of our view. And the third thing I know is probably going to happen, which I'm sorry to see, is there going to be streetlights along McDowell. And that's going to kill our dark sky. Thunder Mountain is all dark sky. There's no streetlights. We would like to see that continue, if at all possible. And then the final thing is what other people have talked about also, is the exit from Thunder Mountain is going to be directly across the street from the new development. And already depends on the time of day and whether it's summer and a lot of boats going up the lake and stuff, there can be a lot of traffic on that road. And right now, there's no stoplights or stop signs or anything. We just go out, when we go out. But if there's going to be another exit right directly across the street from us, could cause a lot of congestion and problems. So anyway, that's all I have to say. And thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate that. Maggie?
Good evening,
Welcome, Maggie.
Mayor, Council.
You have 3 minutes.
Okay. So I live at 8540 East McDowell in Mesa, and the last meeting that we had with Blanford and the planning development was November 13th, and Blanford representative brought up Lucentis Mountain, Boulder Mountain, and Montaluna. And, you know, he said they were nice communities. I agree with that. They're nice communities. I have family and friends that live there. But when they bought into those developments, they knew what they were getting. They knew that they would have small lots and the amenities, the clubhouses, et cetera. When I moved to County Island, I expected to live in the R35 with the acreage and the larger lots. That's what I expected. And now Blanford wants to plop down this community in the middle of established neighborhoods on every side, as they've already told you, they're, you know, R35. Madrid is, you know, they have annexed with the city and they're a little bit smaller, but still, it's still consistent with the area. There's another builder building in there on the mountain in Thunder Mountain, and a street below that, I believe it's 88th, and their minimum is an acre or more, which is consistent, again, with the properties that are there. So what I'm looking for is that Blanford just reduce the density and the two-story homes. Again, the traffic with their exit and entrance is across the street from Thunder Mountains as well. And there is a bus stop that's right outside of Thunder Mountain. The kids are out there in the dark. It's dark at 7 o'clock right now. If you go to the east in front of Madrid, there's another bus stop right there. If you go to the south on Haas, there's lots of bus stops, and they're on unpaved shoulders. And again, if you go down McDowell to the west, it's unpaved. And during rush hour traffic, you're going to have a lot of people. I mean, they drive crazy already for rush hour. These kids are standing out there in the dark, and I know that that's a big concern. The other thing is, if, for instance, like from McDowell, from Haas to Thunder Mountain's opening on McDowell, the widths of our lots are 150 feet. The widths of the Blanford is proposing is 80 feet. So that's nearly half of what's right across the street.
Maggie, would you summarize, please?
Okay, I don't mind them building there. I would just like the density reduced, as well as the two-storied homes, and then something for the traffic issue.
Good, thank you. A lot of good comments, and I appreciate. Before I go to council discussion on this, I'm going to ask if our planning department can weigh in on this. Ms. Brown, is that yourself or Evan? Because I'm sure all of us made notes. First of all, we're not doing a developer any favors. I want you to know that. They have to jump through a lot of hoops even to get this far. And I know the applicant is here. But we can talk about stop signs on Hawes and McDowell, the Desert Uplands guidelines, lighting for the area, what that requires, the traffic entrance, and then Blanford's homes. I know Ms. Goforth has been very cognizant of everything. So we'll go with the planning department first and then go to the council member.
Thank you, Mayor Freeman.
There it is. Thank you, Mayor Freeman. You mentioned a lot of items, and so Evan is going to talk a little bit about our dark sky ordinance, our desert uplands, and the density in this project, the heights of the homes that are being proposed. And then we've got Eric here from our transportation team, who will be able to speak to some of the traffic and some of the street lights and the potential stoplight in this area. So we could start with Evan, if that's okay, Mayor Freeman.
It is. Evan? Thank you, Mr. Ballmer.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. So to answer your question specifically, Desert Uplands is a unique part of town. Obviously, it's in the northeast portion. The general plan kind of lays out two ways to meet the desert upland standards. And the idea is to preserve natural open space as much as possible. Option one is large lot development. So that's 35,000 square feet. It's an acre, and it's up from there. And they have disturbance envelopes on each lot. So on each lot, we're preserving that natural open space. The second option is a slightly more dense zoning district like RS15, where you're preserving common open space. And I would note that RS15, a smaller lot, is possible because as part of development, a developer needs to put in all the city utilities necessary to make that work. So water and sewer, and sometimes when you're in county and you have a large lot, part of that is due to septic. So there are two ways to meet the desert upland standards. And in this scenario, the applicant is under that RS15 density. They're providing just over 20% of the site as open space, and it's arranged so that a lot of the open space is on Haas to kind of mitigate that from the neighbors in the area, as well as throughout the site so that the lots don't back onto each other. You had another question about the dark sky ordinance. There are requirements for light shielding and things like that if there are to be lights, because in this area, again, it's a natural desert environment. We want to mitigate lighting as much as possible. So there are requirements for lighting specifically.
Can you talk about the lighting specifically along McDowell? Is that lighting shielded? Is it LED? Is it, I see Eric.
I'll pass that one off to Eric.
Well, but also, I think, talk about 1- and 2-story homes around the outside of the annexation.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. As part of when this went to the Planning and Zoning Board in November, they added a condition of approval to limit development of those lots to single stories on both Waterbury and Culver. Again, as a way to kind of to mitigate the 2-story height. The perimeter of the development would be limited to 1 story on Culver and Waterbury.
Okay. Also want to ask a question on the natural space for wildlife. Is that part of the guidelines for the desert upland guidelines about wildlife coming through the properties?
Correct. So the open space is arranged in a way to allow those corridors in between lots. So at no point in this subdivision are 2 lots sharing a rear common wall, which in addition for natural desert, flora and fauna, it allows the animals to pass through.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Eric, you want to come in and weigh in on streetlights? And then I heard the Haas and McDowell intersection. I know it's a 4-way stop. I go out there quite often. Is there any future to put in a signalized system there? Is it all county, Mesa,
Sure. Good evening, Mayor, council members. Eric Gadarian, I'm the Assistant Transportation Director. First of all, yes, McDowell and Haas are actually under county jurisdiction. So Maricopa County Department of Transportation owns and maintains those roadways. We, as a city, have an agreement with them on county roads as we get development in that if streetlights are to be put in, that the city will install those and that we will maintain them because the county has a standard that they don't maintain streetlights. So as part of that, we about 5 years ago finished up a citywide streetlight master plan, and the Desert Uplands is a special area. We recognize that, and so a lot of thought has been put in. We do recommend to put streetlights in on arterial roadways. A lot for the reasons they're higher speed streets. We want better visibility, but we recognize that the Desert Uplands is different. We piloted a project up there at McKellips and Ellsworth, and we actually can dim the lights. We dim them in the overnight hours so that they're not at the full brightness. So that regarding streetlights and street ownership, I also believe there's a lot of discussion about driveway alignment. So we as a profession, as a city, we want the driveways to be aligned across from one another. There's better visibility that way. If they're offset, you actually have a harder time seeing the vehicles across the road, and the turning paths can actually interfere with one another as you're making left turns. So we always push, and in our comments, we'll always state to align driveways.
What about the traffic increase? There was a question about traffic.
Sure. So the latest counts that we could find from the county on McDowell Road is 4,000 vehicles a day. That was from 2019. For a roadway like that's not a lot of traffic. Understanding that there are busy times, but adding this development there is not going to significantly add to the traffic that's on McDowell or delays.
Okay, thank you. All right, I think that addresses that. Council, Ms. Goforth, you want to weigh in?
Sure. As Mayor Freeman stated, this is in my district. I'm very familiar with this area. I live in the desert uplands. I understand the beauty of it, the preservation of it. I went to both the community meetings. I listened. I want you to know I did listen to your comments. I understand. I think the issue sometimes is that, your interests as residents of the county are opposed to the interests sometimes of the city. Certainly the governing documents are different. Sometimes the vision and the goals of the area are different, and they, as in this particular instance, they come up against each other sometimes. But what I looked at is the governing documents of the City of Mesa, and that's the general plan. And as we've stated, it's in the desert uplands, and it does require low density, single family. But as was mentioned by Evan, that is done in one of two ways. You can either have larger lots and do the preservation of the natural landscape within those lots, or you can have smaller lots and you increase the open space. And as he mentioned, the open space in this, and the applicant has chosen to go with smaller lots and about 24% open space. Now, then I looked at the zoning district, and you're right, there's RS 43 is allowed, RS 35, but RS 15 is allowed. And frankly, I was surprised as well that it is allowed, but it is because of the alternative ways to get to that preservation of the natural landscape, so that you can have those smaller lots and you can increase the open space. And then what I did is I looked around at the surrounding communities of the City of Mesa. What have we done in the past? What makes sense? What's consistent? And there's anywhere from 0.8 dwelling units per acre up to 2. This one is 2.2. The applicant went from 81 homes per acre down to 65, and closer to that 2 dwelling units per acre. Overall, if you look at it, it's about 1.5 dwelling units an acre in the City of Mesa, surrounding communities of this area. And this is a relatively small parcel. It's 29 acres, and it doesn't move the needle. Every community endures change. No community should endure radical change, is what I believe. And this moves the needle from about 1.58 to 1.57. This isn't radical change. I know it feels like it to those who are sitting on an acre lot, but this is consistent with the plan and the zoning district, and it's consistent with what we've done and what we've allowed in the City of Mesa in the past. I know that the traffic, Eric mentioned the roadway, about 4,100 cars that are trips a day currently. I don't think he mentioned, and correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, that the road holds, the capacity is about 12,000. So, 65 homes, you're right, it's gonna increase the traffic, but that roadway has well enough capacity for the few hundred cars that this might see, I hear you. I understand it's frustrating. I understand it's a beautiful area. The reason you moved to the county is in opposition to what the allowed planning and zoning, the requirements allow, and I know that's frustrating. But when I look at this, I have to be governed by the City of Mesa documents and the City of Mesa surrounding communities. So for those reasons, and I appreciate that the applicant went from 81 to 65. I think that you can call that a reasonable change and a generous reduction. So I will be supporting this community.
Thank you, Ms. Goforth. Any other council discussion? Mr. Summers.
Just a fast question. Is the dark sky part of the stipulation on this or a development agreement? Adherence to dark sky?
I think
Yes.
it's part of the sub-area plan, isn't it? Would it be?
And I'm getting indication from the attorney that dark sky is part of this agreement.
Where's the attorney at?
There is no development agreement, though, Councilmember Summers.
But it's within the agreement, yeah. No DA, but it's stipulated.
All right, hearing no other further discussion, I just want to point out that when we annex properties into the City of Mesa, we value and leverage our infrastructure. Our infrastructure is far beyond other East Valley cities, along with our public safety response. I know there's a fire station at 80th Street in McDowell because I worked there for a number of years, and I know that we can respond very timely to any type of event. So I think those in the East Valley need to understand that public safety response, whether it's fire or police, is very paramount, and that's one of the things that some of the guidelines that I feel is extremely important for those who end up purchasing their homes. With that, any other discussion? Mr. Adams?
Just a quick question for the planning director, I think. Were there any significant changes concerning this parcel between the 2040 and 2050 general plans?
Thank you, Councilmember Adams. It essentially maintained the same type of uses that we had anticipated in the 2040 plan to the 2050 plan, in part because it is in the desert uplands area. So we know that this is an area where we wouldn't want to see a significant amount of change. So it would be a sustain in terms of the growth strategy.
And Mayor, Ms. Brown, there were the appropriate number of community meetings held in that area with respect to the 2050 plan.
So Mayor, Councilmember Adams, we did a lot of outreach all throughout the city for the 2050 plan, including in the D5, the District 5 area, as well as the applicant did outreach for this specific project. So they did their citizen participation plan, and that is summarized. So they did try to hear and take into consideration what the surrounding community was saying about this project.
And thank you. Do you know specifically where any of these objections we're hearing tonight voiced at any of the 2050 general plan public meetings?
So Mayor, Councilmember Adams, we wouldn't get into that level of detail for a specific project during the 2050 open houses and public meetings. So I don't think we heard anything specific about this project specifically. I don't recall there being specific comments about the desert uplands and protection of that, because that is just a policy in the city that we continue to move forward.
Thank you. And Mayor, would you allow me one more question?
Absolutely.
Of the Transportation Department representative, I'm curious, if we look at McDowell, let's say from the 202 all the way out to Ellsworth, what is the current configuration of street lights? Where do they start? Where do they end? I've driven that road 100 times, but never at night.
Mayor, Councilmember Adams, that's a great question. I can't tell you exactly where every single street light is, but the sections that the City of Mesa owns and operates, so essentially from 202 to just east of the essentially Los Andes neighborhood entrance, that has streetlights on it. It's a 4-lane roadway up until that point. We have development on both sides. And then as you get further east, some parts are in the county and some parts, as you get closer to Ellsworth, the city maintains and owns a section of roadway out there. That section will have streetlights, but, and then in the county, there's some streetlights, but not everywhere.
Okay, one last question, if I may. You mentioned that in your profession, you prefer to have driveways opposing across from each other as opposed to staggered. That doesn't make sense to me as a layman, and I just wonder, is that just the way Mesa likes to do it, or is that just the way transportation folks in general like to do that?
That's a good question. No, that's industry standard across the nation, and I think really it comes down to a couple of reasons, and I touched on them. I can go into more detail if we need to. But first, if you have staggered driveways, when you start to have left-turning movements, either the left-turning vehicles out or left-turning vehicles in have to occupy the same space. And none of us want that. Those are conflict points that we want to avoid, because left-turning traffic and pulling out onto a street or getting off of it is typically some of the more dangerous movements that you make in a vehicle. The other reason we want them aligned is you can see straight across. You see that vehicle. If it's offset by 50 feet, 100 feet, sometimes you're not looking in that location and you don't see that other vehicle pulling out. But typically when you're straight across from one another, you can see that.
Okay, understood. Thank you. No further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Yes, Ms. Spilsbury.
I'll just make a couple of comments. Not that anything I'm going to say is going to make anyone feel any better, but I do just want to acknowledge that these are the hard decisions we have to make. We have to balance out our housing crisis with no one wanting any housing going in by their neighborhoods. I've been bombarded with multifamily housing in my district, so I am excited that this is single family. It looks beautiful. There's a ton of different elevations. It almost has a custom home feel to it. I think most of us have spent time studying this, looking through it, meeting with the zoning attorney to find out more details, and so that we can feel comfortable with our vote. But there's things being done at a national level, at a state level, county level. I mean, we're all trying to figure out what we can do for this housing crisis. And when these developments come up, we're having to weigh out all of that. And it's really, really challenging. And I wanted to thank Councilmember Goforth for all the work she's put in on this. I know when it's your district, you get a lot of the pressure. And so thank you for all the work you put into this as well.
Thank you, Ms. Spilsbury. Ms. Duff.
Yes. Did we address there is single-story housing along Culver and Waterbury? Okay. So the two-story will be in the center of the development, the furthest point from the surrounding properties.
It could be along McDowell.
I believe there's some down McDowell.
It could possibly be on McDowell as well, but in the center of the
Yeah, but
development,
McDowell is a major thoroughfare,
Arterial.
so it is quite wide. Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to put 9A and 9B together. Thank you, Ms. Spilsbury. Is there a second? Thank you, Mr. Summers. Please vote.
And Mayor and Council, just to be clear, this is you're voting on both for introduction, right?
Okay, let me read the rest of it. If there's no objection, we'll make one motion for the introduction of items 9A and 9B. Thank you, sir. Please vote. Yeah. Motion passes. Thank you, everybody. Okay, we're going to move over to items 13A and B. To conduct a public hearing and take action on a minor general plan amendment, a zoning case relating to the proposed development known as Banner Gateway Residences. I declare the public hearing open. Ms. Mosley, do you have any requests to speak on these public items?
I have received no request for this item, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Mosley. Do any council members wish to speak? Okay, hearing none. I declare the public hearing closed. If there's no objection from council, we will take one motion to approve items 13A and B relating to the minor general plan amendment and zoning case for Banner Gateway residents. Do we have a motion? Thank you, Ms. Spilsbury. Second by Mr. Summers. Please vote. All right, thank you, everybody. That motion passes. Okay, next part is from citizens present, and we have 3 speakers, and we have one card. And I thank you, Alex, for pronunciation of your last name there. I think that's what you were doing before, right? Alex, come forward. You have 3 minutes. Thank you. Your name and address.
Alex Ranicic, East Valley, Los Angeles, District 5. The topic of what's tragically been going on in California sadly brings this topic to the forefront. And it's not just California, it's also in Richmond, Virginia. So the fires in California, the lack of water in Richmond, Virginia. And there was an interesting phrase that I heard not too long ago that goes something like, ideas have consequences and bad ideas have victims. And here I'm here to address the city's DEI policy, or as some refer to it as the DIE policy. For those of us that live here in Mesa, we don't want any tragic event to bring something to the forefront that might be avoidable ahead of time. And I'm not sure if you're following the trends. The trend last 4 years was to jump on this top-down, push this DI policy, not just within municipalities, but also corporations, businesses. The trend seems to be now reversing. Corporations like McDonald's, Meta, or Facebook, they're abandoning these policies. Interestingly enough, it could be because it paints the people that they've hired with all sorts of memes and jokes in the background. I think if you have a policy like this and you hire people for the city, people start to question, why did this person get hired? Is this person hired on merit, or are they hired on some other algorithm that somebody's calculated in the background to even out the playing field? The playing field should be for the person that is the best for the job. I don't care who comes to save me in my house if I'm caught in the fire. They're there to save me. I'm not calculating what they look like, where they're from, what they believe or don't believe. And so I'm here to ask that the city council reviews the diversity, equity, and inclusion policy so that it doesn't put any of the people working, the staff or whoever works for the city, in a position where they can be looked at, because I'll tell you what, you do it, everybody else out here does it, in the back of their minds, in the back of our minds, we're thinking it. Just because you don't say it out loud doesn't mean you're not thinking it. And people make memes, people make jokes, and all that does is undermines the city and everybody that works in the city, especially when it gets to the fire and when it gets to the police. So I ask that you would review the policy and make it merit-based. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. With that, I see nothing else on the agenda, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Mr. Summers. Second. Ms. Goforth. Thank you. We're adjourned.